I decided to see how easy it would be to have a pre-CBS Strat made, a completely accurate copy down to the smallest detail. Some surprising results to report for you coming right up.
If my voice sounds at all peculiar, it is because I have an upper motor neuron disorder, and speech can be an issue.
First, I went searching across the internet for forums and people talking about early Strats in general. There was one website and a builder that came up quite a lot. This was a luthier in Spain specialising in reproducing absolutely accurate copies of pre-CBS Strats. Here we can see in the Strat Talk forum that there is a user talking about them. A moderator quickly chips in saying it's not appropriate content for the forum. However, I followed the link and discovered a treasure trove for anyone who wanted to fake a pre-CBS Strat. Here are some photos along with direct quotes from the website in question. Pre-CBS guitars and J-basses, reproductions of vintage originals from the 1950s and 1960s, accurate in every detail and dimension inside and out. We use the same materials, basic technology, tooling and machines as were used in the 1950s and 1960s to make all our bodies and neck. Most of the hardware is also made by us. We have and can source some original vintage parts for your guitar if required. Our stock of alder and maple is over 20 years old. The bodies are routed on a vintage overhead pin router that leaves the same characteristic cuts and traces in the cavities. The necks and bodies are made entirely by us. So these people are clearly very serious about how they go about making these copy instruments. It's not difficult to make guitars look correct outside, although not many manufacturers or luthiers do manage to get the details right. But if you want the guitar to look like an original, the cavities inside the body also have to be accurate in terms of size and texture of cut. The truss rod and truss rod nut should be the correct specification and size according to the year. Even the truss rod anchor varies. Holes for cables, correct positions and diameters, tooling and quality control marks in the wood. It's a long list. What's the point of an aged or relic finish if the guitar does not play, feel and sound exactly how you want and look totally original and authentic when you remove the pickguard, the neck and the rest of the hardware? We make very few guitars and so are able to pay great attention to every detail, select the best pieces of wood and to a certain extent tailor each guitar to what the customer wants. You can choose colour, year, month, neck size and profile. It will be completely vintage correct with accurate pre-CBS cavities, clay dots or pearloid dots depending on the year or month, contours, correct paint for the era, cellulose, acrylic, homoclad or Fulaplast sealer where appropriate. We discuss this with each customer. There are various original combinations, all the small details you need to see. So they're making guitars exactly and entirely to the specification of the year of manufacture, and I think this is a little bit worrying. The quality of the wood for the neck and body is what makes the difference in how it sounds and responds, particularly for the neck. We have a stock of American red alder for 1956 onwards bodies that has air dried for over 15 years, hard rock maple for over 25 years, and some of the rosewood is over 50 years old. Mass production guitar manufacturers cannot offer that. There simply is not much old wood available anymore. The wood used for sunburst bodies from 1954 to 1956 was oft Fraximus americana, also called baseball bat ash, which can be quite dense and produce a heavy guitar body. From about mid-1956, the bodies are mostly American red alder for sunbursts and solid colours, and even a very few early 1960s blondes. The neck-to-neck pocket fit will be perfect unless you want it to look sloppy like many originals. You can also choose within limits the weight of the guitar and the sound, dark or bright. This usually depends on the density of the wood and therefore influences the weight of the guitar. All of the components on the guitar are made by us or specially for us to be perfect reproductions of original parts, approximate and appropriate to the year of manufacture. Plastic knobs, string guides, strap buttons, pickup, truss rods, truss rod nut, bridges, screws, pickguard, jack cup, neck plate and tuner bushes. Right down to the smallest detail, every single bit is pre-CBS standard and quality. We are obsessed with detail. We make the guitars starting from blocks of wood using templates we have designed and reverse engineered by examining and recording data from scores of original guitars over many years. The bodies are made with an old pin router. The contours are cut on a bandsaw and sanded in the same manner and with the same basic technology, techniques, machines and tools as were used to produce the original guitars from 1954 to as late as 1975. Every detail inside and out is there. The same materials, types of wood, paint, neck dot markers, materials, contours, radii, the shapes, dimensions and geometry of all the cavities, tooling marks, router chatter, router tear out, jig holes, nail holes, position and diameters of cable tunnels, dowels which holes should be threaded, truss rod dimensions and materials, position of truss rod, nut hole, on slab boards and veneer boards, fingerboard thickness, signatures, dates, correct positions for tuner holes, QC marks, pickups, screws with correct sizes and threads, etc. Even the anchor dimensions of the various truss rods that were fitted are the same. Everything is as it should be and where it should be. Clearly, if you wanted to copy, they could take the body profile pictures and make exactly the same thing and also put all of the relevant and right marks on the guitar. Due to the manufacturing processes and types of machinery used from 1954 to 1965, original guitars were not 100% consistent, but there are some telltale characteristics that are always apparent. Most of the hardware we use is made for us or by us, including the jack cup, tuner bushes, Strat buttons, truss rod and truss rod nut with the correct type of nickel, chrome or zinc plating depending on the part. We like to think of it as if you worked at the original factory back in the 1950s and 60s and were friendly enough with the neck shapers and could tell them to make the neck just as you wanted, contour the body to your taste and to some extent choose the actual bits of wood and bait and characteristic of the guitar. The physical look of every detail of the woodwork inside and out on both bodies and necks are 100% consistent with the genuine original guitars. Even if you choose a neck profile specific to your hands, you could still find a genuine neck that would be virtually identical. The original necks varied considerably. We shape our necks individually for the customer in order to give them a perfect vintage looking neck, but personalized to the shape and size of each guitarist's hand, and to make the neck as comfortable and responsive as possible for their technique and style. You can choose any radius, although to be vintage accurate it would start out at 7.25 inches and then be re-radius to what you want, so the guitar looks like an original guitar that has been professionally re-radius during a refret. You can therefore choose any fret size, nut and neck width with vintage specifications. We discuss all this with you. Only a guitar made to measure can offer this. So as you can see, this type of attention to detail would be very hard for even the most experienced expert to spot. Here indeed are several photos of period correct black Strat from the luthier in question. As you can see, every detail of every part of the guitar is made to the specific standards accurate to the measurements of the period correct guitars. So if you wanted this company to fake you a pre-CBS Strat, you could give them all the dimensions and all the marks on the guitar and they could make it perfectly. Now, one thing this website doesn't show is the headstock decals. You have to think that is because of trademark infringement. Clearly, if they are stamping the correct dates on the body end of the necks, then they'll also be putting on the period correct decals. Not mentioning any guitar specifically, but how do you feel about the fact that it is so easy to fake a pre-CBS Strat? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I really look forward to reading them and I'll respond to as many as I possibly can. I'll see you on the next video.